So yeah, this is a story for modern times. Background context, last week it was my wife's birthday, and one of her birthday presents from Katie was a dishoom recipe delivery, bacon naan bread and chai tea. Thank you very much, Katie, on behalf of Kay. And of course, my contribution was to make breakfast, which included the chai tea. Now, making a cup of tea is a relatively tried and tested process, I think. And whenever we talk about process change, we use making a cup of tea as an example of all the different steps that we've got. So if you always do what you've always done, then you'll always get what you always have. So I tried something different. Now, normal process for a cup of tea is this, is it not? Boil the kettle, find a cup and a tea bag. Obviously, this side of the Pennines, that'd be Yorkshire tea. Pour the water in the cup when the kettle's boiled, add milk, check, quality control check that it is the right shade, and possibly add sugar. Now, I know there are some of you who might add milk earlier on in that, but that essentially, I think, is the process. I hope I'm right. So, making chai tea, what's the recipe? First of all, it's not a kettle, it's a pan. And you add in the chai tea leaves, and you simmer for 20 minutes. So it takes a little bit longer than a kettle, and then you add some milk and sugar and simmer for another 10 minutes. And then pour the tea via a sieve, so you're taking out the tea leaves. Still not a difficult process. So what happened in reality was this. A pan boiled over because I couldn't work out the difference between a simmer and a boil. So I tried to mop up the new hob with some kitchen roll, which caught fire. And while I was calmly dealing with the fire, I managed to burn the naan bread that I was making. So what do we learn from this? Well, firstly, that even small changes can be challenging. And secondly, it's not just about the process, it's about the skills or my lack of them, and also the technology, which includes the kettle and the new hob. And lastly, we were trying to compare two entirely different customer experiences. First was my normal Saturday bacon sandwich, which was great. Second is a dish room breakfast, which is also great, but mixing the two doesn't necessarily work. So, hoping that you've learned from my very simple mistakes, I'm now going to pass over to Richard to tell me how I should have really made a cup of tea.
Thanks, Steve. So hi everyone. So my name's Richard Shenton. I've been working with Golden Marzipan for the last few months. My background is in transformation, business transformation in organisations, customer experience, digital customer experience, and I'm also a non-exec director for Johnny Johnson Housing. So through my career, I've done a number of things, and one of the key things that I've always implemented in the last few businesses that I've worked in is the Agile Sprints. And Agile Sprints is a great way of reducing about 4 months worth of work into 4 days. Particularly in the current climate, the world's changed, but let's face it, the world's always been changing. Things have always been changing, and organizations have generally found it difficult to align on the big critical issues and gain clarity as a whole organization. And in the past, a lot of organizations have I've been guilty of it before as well. A lot of organizations have, the execs have sat at the top in their ivory towers and have designed a great strategy with an external consulting company, and have come up with a fantastic 3-year plan that, you know, half of it never gets implemented, and 3 months down the line, the world's changed and it's quite irrelevant, and it's not really been developed with a lot of the people that actually know about the business and or organization, what's going on. So I'm going to talk to you about Agile Sprints. As I say, the key element of Agile Sprints is that we can reduce about 4 months worth of work down into 4 days. There's a few principles that I'll just cover off with the Agile Sprints before we get started. And the big one is around, it's better to get started than being perfect. That's around, don't let perfection get in the way of progress. Agile is a bit of a buzzword at the moment, but the sprint process very much talks about creating a prototype and testing it in the market very quickly. And one of my big theories is, if you're not embarrassed about your first prototype or your first go at redesigning something, then you've probably spent too long trying to perfect it. The idea is that we get things out into the marketplace or into our organization to be tested by our people really quickly and get their feedback. One of the other elements is that we minimize discussion. So I'm sure we've all been there in a workshop before where it's just really been a bit of a talking shop, and from a sprint perspective, conversation and discussion is overrated. We like to work together alone, which is a principle that Steve and I, when we go through a bit of a demo, will bring to life. And then distractions, like we're so full of distractions at the moment, and we just, we can't seem to get things done. One of the key tenets of the Agile Sprints is that we minimize distractions. We lock ourselves away for a period of time together or virtually together, and we do what we need to do. So everyone's probably saying, what are you talking about, Richard? What is an Agile Sprint? What does it look like? Well, there's a number of different versions of an Agile Sprint, and the typical one is the 4-day sprint, where we come together as an organization with the key 8 to 10 people who are best to come together, who know about the problem that we're trying to solve. And it's really scary, actually. So when I first introduced this when I was at British Gas, we would start the week not really knowing what the problem was we were trying to solve, and we'd start the week recruiting some customers to come in at the end of the week to test what we were going to design. And it was really scary because we didn't know what those customers were going to test, because we hadn't actually created an improved process, because we didn't really know what the problem was. So from a culture perspective, it's quite scary, but good. So Monday is all about, in a workshop environment, Monday is all about defining the challenge, agreeing the challenge and agreeing the problem that we're trying to solve. And Monday afternoon is about going straight into producing a mass of solutions. And some people find that quite scary because, gosh, after half a day, we're coming up with ideas and solutions to this. But the days of kind of analyzing problems are long gone, because we recognize that we've got the people in the room, let's give them some respect that they deserve. We know what the issues are, and we're going to test it later on in the week anyway. Tuesday is all about taking those ideas and those solutions and everyone aligning on or voting on what the best solutions are. Tuesday afternoon is about defining what our prototype process might look like. Wednesday is about designing that process, designing a prototype process. The rougher and ready the process, the better. It's not about perfection. And then Wednesday afternoon is about recruiting some users. At British Gas, we used to pay some of our real customers, £50 Amazon vouchers to come and test our process that we've designed. And Thursday is all about having real customers in the room, no more than 5, because if you get more than 5, you statistically get diminishing returns. And Thursday afternoon is about taking all that great feedback, either positive or negative, that real customers have given us to do with our prototype, and either iterating it, taking the negative feedback and working out how we need to change the process, or taking the positive feedback and working out what we need to keep in the process. So that's a bit of an overview of the typical 4-day sprint. We have been conducting something called a challenge alignment sprint, which is very much, if we don't really know what those problems are to conduct 4-day sprints on yet, because there's probably a big bucket list of those 4-day sprints, we do something which is a challenge alignment workshop where we bring everyone together for a day to start with, and we really align on what is our purpose, what are we trying to do here from a strategy, from an enterprise level, normally done with the exec team. We take in we assess our strengths and limitations. That might be internal within the organization, it might be externally looking at what's happening in the market. We agree what our guiding principles are, so what are our key tenets of our strategy or our organization. And then we develop a roadmap of what we call critical experiments. So based on everything that we've just looked at, what are the kind of key 6 things that we really want to place our bets on in the future? And some of those might be just go and do it, some might be big projects, and some might be 4-day sprints. But at the end of it, the whole organization is aligned on what is our purpose, what are our strengths and limitations, how do we take advantage of our strengths, and how do we turn our limitations into opportunities, and what's our roadmap to do that. And then we have another version, which is what we call a rapid response workshop. So this is a very cut down version. It's done in a day, but it uses the same principles of the Agile Sprints, done in a 1-day workshop. And this is more focused on jumping on or trying to address any sudden events that might disrupt business as usual. And let's face it, there's been a few of those in the future, been a few of those in the recent past, and there will be some in the future as well. And I think, Steve, we're going to do a bit of a demo of the rapid response workshop. So we use a virtual whiteboard called Mural. Can everyone see, or do I need to change my desk what I'm sharing? Can everyone still see the whiteboard? Or yeah, okay. So Steve, are you in the whiteboard as well? I think you're still on mute. Yeah, I can see you in there. You in there, Steve?
Yeah, I am in there, Richard.
Perfect. Okay, and everyone can see the whiteboard. Perfect. So if we just take a pause for a moment. So we've been running these as either physical workshops, or we've also been running remote workshops. And where we would run them in a remote workshop environment, we've used Mural. Mural is a virtual whiteboard area, or canvas as we call it, where everyone can go into the canvas, and we use post-it notes, we use voting, and we use, other than Sharpies, we use everything that we would normally use in a physical workshop. So if anyone's seen the share prices of whoever sells post-it notes declining in the last 6 months, then this is why, because everyone's reverted to virtual workshops. So this is the rapid response canvas. Let me zoom in on what this is all about. So again, it's a 1-day remote workshop for leadership teams. During the workshop, the group will define any quick or coordinated or strategic responses to any sudden events that disrupt business as usual. So this is a great, fantastic way of bringing everyone together. We do have a 45-minute version of this as well, which we've used with some clients, where we bring everyone together and agree together what we need to do about any sudden issues that we see in our operation. It's best used with between 2 to 8 people, no more than 8, because as most people know, any more than that, it can start to get a bit overbearing. And the idea is that we start with a goal. So Steve, I think you'd be moving some of these post-it notes around here. So let me just move those. We start with a goal. So this example here is about, you know, our goal, as anyone has, especially with today's distractions, how do we design our dream day? Let's try and design our dream day so that we're living the dream. Everyone wants to live the dream, don't they? Surely you're all living the dream. And we normally start as a 10-step process, and we normally start at step 1, and we talk about what's working well with regards to that goal. So what wind is in our sails that's already driving us towards that goal? And I think Steve's put some examples in there where, Steve, you got 30 minutes extra sleep this morning, did you? You managed to do the washing while you were working as well. So yeah, so we spend a bit of time, everyone agreeing and just talking about all the good stuff that's going on with regards to in context to our goal. And then we go down to let's capture the problem. So what are all the problems that are anchoring us and stopping us from moving towards our goal? You know, lunch was boring, didn't have enough interaction with my team, or actually these video calls are really getting on my nerves because I've got too many, when actually just a phone call would suffice. And where we get a lot of these ideas, we can go through an element of voting. So if anyone's used Mural before, we can have a voting session. Everyone can have, say, 3 votes. And Steve, if you want to do your voting, I'm going to choose a couple here. So too many distractions, and my tech is never 100% reliable. I can't see where Steve is voting. So if my manager's in the room, they can't see where I'm voting. So, you know, it's quite anonymous. End the voting session. And then what we normally get is the results of where people put their votes. It's quite flat at the moment because there's only 2 of us and we've only got 2 votes. But you normally see a Christmas tree effect where a few post-it notes have most of the votes. But that just gives you an idea of, you know, we've only got 45 minutes with this, or a day. We really need to prioritize what we take forward into the next part of the process. So what we can then do if we've got too many, we can go through an element of prioritizing our votes and our problems. But the key next stage is we take those problems, or the key problems, and we turn them into an opportunity statement or a how might we statement. So one example here is one of the biggest problems is that someone said, I have no idea what's happening on project X. Well, how do we turn that into a how might we or opportunity statement? You know, let's talk about it. Let's how might we make sure everyone stays in the loop with all the running projects? Well, one of the big ones that came out of this exercise was with regards to what's ruining my day or stopping me from having the dream day, is that I have lots of calls where text or audio would suffice. So let's turn that into an opportunity statement. How might we ensure that communications are appropriate for the purpose and respect other people's time? And that gets people into more of a innovation mindset, as opposed to focusing on the problems. What the problem, we're probably never really going to get ourselves out of that problem. Let's focus on the opportunity statement and how we do that. So we refrain our problems into opportunities. And Steve, from your experience, how's that exercise been in groups?
Yeah, that's great. That really gets people involved and creative and working together. So yeah, fantastic stuff.
Okay, good. So then we take that how might we statement and we go into step 6, which is, okay, we've now got an opportunity statement. Let's talk about let's go into an element of, then this is everyone working together alone. So we go into an element of 4 or 5 minutes where everyone just comes up with a massive ideas in silence. So again, I think most people will have been in workshops where we have various different personalities. Some personalities kind of dominate some workshops and some ideas, but the Agile Sprints, everyone's working together alone. So everyone is spending 4 or 5 minutes coming up with or documenting their ideas and getting their ideas out on paper. And that's where you see some of the introverts, some actually from extroverts as well. But people have been sitting in pockets or corners of an organization, have always had in the back of their mind, I would probably, if I've had the opportunity, I'd just do this to address that issue. And this is a great forum or platform for those people to document or come out with those ideas. And you can even post other slides in there, as Steve has done as well, to show your ideas. So this is where everyone kind of comes up with their ideas in pink to address that how might we opportunity. And then we go through an element of voting again. So other people can't see who's voting on what ideas. So those gems that people have just come up with, people will say, oh gosh, yeah, no one's ever really thought about that. And you tend to find that gets all of the votes. Those great ideas get loads of the votes. And then we go through an element of, if we need to, prioritizing those solutions. But most importantly, we take the big solutions that people have come up with, and we then decide, what do we want to do with them? So some are going to be some might be great ideas, but they might be big IT projects that are probably going to take loads of investment and loads of time to get through our internal process. Some might be really quick, but might be really effective. So we use the impact effort matrix, and we document those ideas to each of those how might we statements onto here. And as most people will have probably used this before, but it's really powerful. Some of these ideas will have really low effort and really high impact, and they're the ones that we want to do now. Some will have really low effort, really low impact, and we great idea, but for now let's just put it here, and let's here, and let's forget about it for now, but let's come back to it so we don't lose it. Some will be loads of effort, really high impact, but we probably can't go back to the office or back to our work tomorrow and implement it. So let's make that project. And then the final step is step 10, where we've really prioritized those ideas. And at Golden Marzipan, we don't want everyone just to come up with ideas. We always want people to leave with some actionable actionable results. So step 10 is about taking those ideas, those top ideas, and coming up with the next steps. Literally what are the next 3 action steps? Let's form an initial plan to get these ideas implemented. Let's get an owner in place, and let's get some steps in place while we're here, while we're together, and while we get that alignment, so that when everyone goes back to their office or back to their desk or back to their work, their virtual work, you don't get stuck into just what we were doing before, and these things don't get forgotten about. So that's a bit of a quick demo. Hopefully that explains the rapid response workshop, the 10 steps, and gives you a feel for the mural dashboard, and hopefully it gives you a bit of an idea of what the Agile sprints could look like, the various different variations.